guys. Welcome back to another episode of The Precipice of Delusion. My name is Julian Gavilanis. I am your humble host, and I am here to congratulate you and celebrate you for being here with us today. Man, we're back to having guests on the show. I took a long hiatus, guys, and it was I talk about it in the previous episode. So if you don't know why, then go back and listen, you freaks. If you're here to listen to my guest today, Heather Brittain, you are in for a treat. Heather is an actress, a filmmaker, and the program director for the Garden State Film Festival. She is somewhat of a legend out here in the Northeast. I met her a long time ago, about 10 years ago, at like a workshop, like an acting workshop for commercials. You go in and you meet casting directors and you like pay to play kind of thing. And they're pretty ridiculous, but she reminded me that we met there. And man, it's just so nice to have these relationships with creative people over the years that you lose touch with, but then you're kind of like always with them in their peripheral. And you see them doing certain things, and then now having a podcast, it's like, hey, I got a podcast. You want to chat? It's such a great way to reconnect with people. And man, I'm so grateful to have this thing. It's nice to get back into the swing of things and to be back with you guys. Again, I appreciate you so much for being here and tuning in weekly with us. I'm going to try to bump these episodes up and start getting them out a little bit quicker. But yeah, Heather is so wonderful. I really enjoyed this conversation. She has so many resources and is such a breadth of knowledge and wisdom in regards to filmmaking and getting your films in film festivals. She's so inspiring and really has like a very pragmatic approach to getting your films to move through the world in the most effective way. I think as a first-time filmmaker myself, I spent a lot of time really kind of getting overwhelmed by the nature of this business that, like, man, I made this thing and now I'm putting it out and nobody seems to care. There doesn't seem to be that much traction. How do I do this? And ultimately, the answer is you just got to put your head down and keep trying. You got to like go at it from the ground level and just like research and figure it out and Google it and do all the things that you would do if you were starting something new. Once you get the ball rolling in this field, then great. You can utilize the resources that you've acquired over time. But until then, you got to just figure it out. And I think this episode is a real testament to just figuring it out, but also going and taking the right steps. Heather has a platform called the Film Festival Insider, where she hosts workshops, she does consultation, she does webinars. She has all sorts of different things on there to provide resources for people like myself and potentially like yourself who are trying to get their films seen, get eyes on them, get some leverage in this business, because it is tough, let me tell you. Loved having her on. She's the best, and I can't wait for you guys to hear her here. So I'll shut my mouth now, and we will bring this episode on right now. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to my good pal, Heather Brittain. I was trying to figure out how we knew each other originally, because
I remember.
You do. I was trying to remember. It must have been like a film festival thing, right? Or no?
No.
You tell me.
No, it was, I want to say like 10 years ago-ish. there was a casting director 2-day workshop. I want to say it was Amy Gossel's,
Oh
and we were
my
in there doing
god.
orange juice commercials. And I'm like, that guy's good. And I got to be honest with you, I listened to a couple of your previous podcasts, so I realized that you're actually older than I thought you were. But at the time, I thought you were like 21, 22. I thought you were like baby.
Uh-huh.
Um, and you were just such like you had this commercial like like vibrant appeal. Like you were just so like universally appealing, I thought, and you were just so great in the way you delivered your lines. I know it was just an orange juice commercial, but I was like, God, I'm thirsty now. You were so good,
No
so
way.
good.
So
And
kind of you.
at times, I really like file away actors that I meet in my brain. Um, and if I see a casting notice or something, I'll just brain fart it out to them if I feel like they're good for it. Like I just remember people, and you're one of those
Oh
people that I've
wow.
always remembered. And then we just like linked up on social media, and that's weird, but yeah, so we've been friends
Yeah.
for like 10 years.
Yeah, I know, because I went back and I saw that's very nice and kind of you to say. I appreciate that. And now I totally remember Amy Gossels, is that her name?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, gosh,
Yeah,
that's so
I
crazy.
actually hadn't thought of that name till just this very moment. I was trying the other
Yeah.
day to remember
You
what
have
it
an
was, but
incredible memory. I can't remember like what I had for breakfast today. So like I'm not surprised I don't remember. I remember meeting you and seeing you and like being in your presence, but I just don't remember the context. So
Yeah.
now it all comes back to me. That's so interesting because that was a long time ago and I was doing so many of those like one-on-ones, casting like
Yeah, I did a lot of them
workshops to
too
try
back
and
then.
just like get seen. Were you new to
Mhm.
New Are you from Jersey originally?
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, yeah.
Okay. And so
So, in my 20s, I moved out to LA and I, like, kinda did the acting thing. I was mostly, to be honest, waiting tables, and doing some extra work. I did one indie film. Like, I was really at 21, I was rather aimless. I knew what I wanted to do, but I didn't know how to go about accomplishing those goals, and it also just somehow didn't occur to me to ask for advice, to seek a mentor. So I was super aimless. They were great years, though. I had a great time. Living in LA in your 20s is,
sure,
especially
totally.
back then,
Yeah.
early 2000s. I'm dating myself. Hi. Um, but it was a great time. They were very formative years for me. But at some point, it kind of clicked for me. I'm like, I need a 401k and health benefits. I want a real job. So I got a real job, quote unquote, air quotes,
Mhm.
which I actually recently left finally after like a 20-year career, 25-year
No
career.
way.
Um, and but in business. So I eventually moved back east, had a family, and but my artist's heart just came calling. I think my son was like, I don't know, 10 or 11, where I call it my early midlife crisis. And I was just like, I gotta act again.
Yeah,
And I got on the first project was like community theater. I did a couple just to kind of get the wheels going again. But I was so nervous stepping back onto that stage after so many years.
I bet.
And I had a monologue rehearsed. I didn't know if they'd need one. A lot of time they didn't, but I was ready. I was so nervous. I was so nervous. And I got up on that stage, and the very first line, it was like I was breathing oxygen after so many years of not. Like I didn't even
Wow.
realize I'd been gasping for air. It was like I was like this little fish or mermaid on the land or something. Like, and finally I'm able to breathe again. It was like just so natural to be back at it, and I knew I could never not do it again. So that's when I really started going into the city, doing all the classes, doing the audition hustle, and that's when you and I met.
Wow. Isn't it crazy
Yeah.
how that moment like thank God you had that sense of wanting to jump back in and having like the wherewithal to take the risk. But then, like, the experience of that feeling of connecting to something artistic, especially like in acting, and having, like you
Yeah.
said, like that kind of like that breath back into your life and being like,
Yeah.
oh my God, like, whoa,
I didn't even realize how much I'd missed it. I'd kind of numbed myself.
yeah, it's
So yeah,
so
such a gift.
crazy and so cool that you had that and that you had that again after I imagine, like having kids and trying to like navigate being an actor and like building a career is really difficult. So I'm just grateful that you were able to come back after that long period. Uh,
Thank you. Me too.
yeah, when you did, and when you continued to start kind of making strides in the acting world, do you feel like it was an effort of being like a frustrated actor to move into like the filmmaking world? And call me out if I'm projecting my own experience, but I feel like myself and so many others who have been like, I'm not booking enough. I'm not getting what I expected I was going to get, but I really know that I have an ability and a talent to do this. And so I'm going to
Yeah.
go and I'm going to put it to page and I'm going to start writing my own roles. Like, was that kind of a trajectory that you had, or were you just booking?
Actually, yeah, yeah, it was. I was booking commercials. I was booking some indie films. Like I found like I was actually getting work relatively quickly, which was, a nice affirmation, a nice pat on the back. But I've kind of veered off my old audition hustle too. I've kind of taken a different
Right.
direction. So, like you said, was it me being frustrated as an actor, wanting to make my own stuff? Partially it was. In my initial foot into the producing world was I actually had been cast in a film. Um, and the director wanted to cast my son to play my son.
Oh, cool.
So he had never acted before. He has never acted since. But yeah, he was like 11 years old at the time. And it was just such this precious little film shot on 16 millimeter. And just when you have a child, your own child in a film, it's just like this most beautiful time capsule. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
incredible to have that. But unfortunately, I didn't have that because after the film, the director, it was a student film, it was a senior thesis, and he just kind of fell out of love with it and didn't want to finish it. And I
Mm,
was like, oh no, 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 no. Now that happens to us as actors. We just kind
totally.
of, it stinks and it's just part of it. Um, but on this occasion, I was like, no, I need to get that footage. So I begged and pleaded nicely, gently, persistently for over a year for him to please give me the footage and let me finish post production on it. Um, and
Wow.
eventually he agreed if I took his name off as director. So I did. I said, "Do you want me to use another name? Do you have like?" I'm like, "It's your film. Like, I don't want to just like I'm not gonna put myself as director." So he's like, "Yeah, say it's Cary Grant." So Cary Grant directed my first short film,
Nice.
and but yeah, doing the post production though was fun for me, and it was eye opening for me. It was the first chance I got to really steer the creative process in some way, choosing the score and picking the best edits and know that that was an awkward pause. Let's make that a little shorter there, and like
And
really
sorry, you had never done
shaping the
this
film into what
before.
it ended up. I'm sorry.
You had never done this before either, had you? Like
No.
this was a first time thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So it was real, but it was eye opening for me and empowering for me. And I realized I can do this. And then it was at another acting workshop that I met another actor by the name of Andy Peak. And we were chatting after. He's like, "Do you write?" And I don't write. But I said, "Yeah."
Right. Right. Yes,
He's
I
like, "Well, I'm
do.
writing this thing and I'm really stuck and it, it's about parenting and you're a parent and I'm a parent and maybe we could write it together." And I was like, "Sure." I was just like, "Let's just say yes to things." So I said yes. We wrote a film. I often joke I made a shitty film. It was called Housebroken. It was about these two parents struggling to potty train their kid. They say right what you know, so whatever. My first, well, I confirmed with that film that I am not a writer. It was a cute film, though. I hired a great team. Um, from the producing perspective, I did a good job. So I'll pat myself on the back for my
Yeah.
first full blown producing role. And that film did well. It went to a lot of festivals, and I made a lot of great connections through that project that I have since birthed other projects. So, like, I just kind of just say yes to things and figure it out later. Just keep swimming.
That's awesome. That's so it's so cool that you had the skill set, or at least even just like the willingness to learn how to edit and score and like build a movie from just footage, because that's not
Well,
just
I want to clarify. I don't know how to edit. and I don't know how to score. I am a big fan of surrounding myself with people who are smarter than me,
Nice.
and learning from them. But I still don't know how to edit or score. I hire a great team every time, and I think that's, it takes a village to really do this right. There are a few exceptions out there that can kind of be a one man or one woman show, but I'm really big in surrounding myself with good people and finding your people, the people you really click with. So not just talented, but people who like lift you up. You lift each other up. You raise that vibration. You feel good around them.
Mm,
So talent and you're clicking. You're finding your people and building your tribe, as they say. I'm a
yeah.
huge fan of that, and with surrounding myself with people who are smarter than I am. I
Yeah.
think if you
It's
find that you're the smartest or most talented person in the room, it's
gotta move.
time to find a new room.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally. I totally
It's like
agree.
the big fish, little pond kind of thing. Like you gotta, uh, I think you always gotta aim for those bigger waters, and even that's a little scary, and you may not be as well known or receive all the accolades you did in that little pond. Stepping up into the bigger pond, you're gonna step up your game to swim with those big fish.
Right. I mean, I think you have to have like I don't know. That's why I asked if like there was like this frustration with acting because like that's what my experience was. But I also recognize that once I produced my first film this last October,
Yes,
and
I know. I saw
uh,
it.
oh right, yeah. Thanks for watching
Yes,
it.
I did. It was great. I was so impressed. Good job.
Oh, thank you
Bravo.
so much. I appreciate it. It was a real
And you're
labor of
still
love.
natural on camera.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah.
Like anything, like any project, whether it's music or a painting or a film or whatever, it's like it's always going to be an intensive labor of love. It's always going to like take so much to actually get like first of all just the script alone to get made, right? And then like
Yeah.
you sit with a script for however long before being like, well, what do I do next? Like how do I turn this from the page to the screen? What do I even do?
Yeah.
What do I do? I spent over a decade expecting that my acting career was going to sustain my lifestyle and that it was going to allow me to kind of just continue leveling up with like the next job. All right. I just assumed that like I'm going to do like the ladder system. I'm going to get a co-star in a TV show. And then from that, I'm going to get a
Yeah.
guest star and then a recurring guest star. And then I'm going to be a series regular. And then all of a sudden, I'm just going to be like chilling in Malibu in my pool with my boat. And I'm just going to be like hanging, with champagne. It's just like, it's just not true. And that didn't happen. And when
There's
I
still time.
Totally, but it also like the expectation changes when you like start to learn what you actually are good at and what you actually want to be doing and what you want out of your life. And
Yeah.
I'm curious for you because for me, when I produced that film or even started with pre-production before we even finished the film, I was dug into a new skill set and a new approach to art that I hadn't previously, and it felt so much more involved. And I was just like, oh my God, I've just been waiting around for my agents to call me for an audition so that I can like overthink the shit out of some audition that I'm gonna like spend all day working on. You're just spending so much time waiting for somebody else to make something happen for you. And when you recognize that you can start, like you said, take the power into your own hands and moving this train forward on your own despite how fast it goes or how like cool it looks while it's moving or whatever, it's just like just make it move and just start
Yeah.
moving it forward. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden I was like, oh my God, acting is so like insignificant. Not necessarily like it's such a great bold beautiful thing, artistic expression, but like when I realized how much more there was to be done outside of just being an actor, it was
Yeah.
like the stars, like the world kind of like opened up to me and it was like this is insane. I have been looking at this all wrong, hoping to just like let my acting career build my life for me when I could have
Yeah.
been building my life as an actor through this approach in a
Yeah.
completely different way. And
Yeah.
and it seems like you kind of figured that out right away. and have kind of moved in that direction ever since.
Yeah, it's funny. I spent so many years in business, and before that, I was in sales. I have that part of my brain it's just there. So, it, stepping into producing, it was just the perfect marrying of my loves. Now, that being said, I'm not a producer for hire. Acting is my first love. So I produce films that I'm in.
Right, right, right,
But yeah, I like having some control over the creative process. I like knowing it's going to get done. I like knowing there's nothing worse than like being an actor. Okay, the worst thing is when it doesn't get done. Although sometimes it's a favor when they don't get done, because when you see how they turn out,
right,
like the editing, you're like, why did they choose that take? Like,
right.
or that was a totally like all the errors you see, or the sound is off, or whatever they do that just grates on your nerves. It's like, oh, that would have been better left on the shelf. And so, yeah, there's a part of me too that doesn't, wants to take some control. So unless, and this is another thing, and I always felt this as an actor too, even before I started producing on my own. I know we go in as actors and we're auditioning and we're hoping they pick us. But before I go into any audition, I look at what they've done. What have you done? Do I want to work for you? I'm auditioning them just as much as they're auditioning me. If I've gone into that room, it's because I've already auditioned them, so to speak.
Hmm.
I think we need to be informed as actors about the projects we're working on, and we're not doing anybody a favor by showing up. It's a collaboration, really. It's we're bringing our craft to their craft, and hopefully it all works together. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. You move on to the next project, but it's a collaboration. Like, I think actors need to feel empowered in their talent and their innate gifts that they're bringing to the project, potentially. um, so I don't know. I just kind of, I don't know where I got on that
Yeah.
tangent from,
Do,
but
do you think that you were you were acting in projects and seeing how projects were getting made and realizing, did you have experiences in projects where they were not going the way that you felt like they could have been going, and that kind of inspired you a little
sure,
bit?
sure, absolutely, yeah,
Yeah. I think that's pretty
yeah,
prominent in like the independent film scene, right? You just like, these are potentially
hmm
first time filmmakers. They don't necessarily know what they're doing, and good on them for
hmm
taking the steps, but you're on those sets, especially if you're an experienced actor or something who's been on multiple sets, professional and
yeah,
otherwise, and you're kind of looking around like, what is going on here? It's
yeah,
so those, I feel like that is the challenge of an actor, is working on bad projects, bad sets, bad scripts. Because
bad
then, like,
dialogue is the
trying, yeah,
worst.
bad
Isn't it so
dialogue,
hard when you get,
trying to like legitimize shitty dialogue is like,
oh,
is
it's like,
unreal. It's the hardest thing, but I'm curious, like, if some of those experiences were were like the catalyst for you to be like, I think I could actually do this in a different way. You had a business you had like a business background prior to getting into this, so you obviously had like some savvy in regards to like, I think I could probably like put these puzzle pieces together a little bit differently. Was that what was
yeah,
happening
it,
though?
yeah, I'd say it felt that my business background made the producing end of things feel a pretty natural fit for me, as far as just managing departments and putting people together, and kind of overseeing everything.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it was being on sets. Like I said, the project that didn't get finished with my son was the first reason I had to dip my toe in. I just wanted this amazing, like, film of my child, basically. But it ended up being such a sweet film, and I really enjoyed the post-production process.
Yeah.
Again, I hired someone who was smarter than me, because I'd never done it before, but it was someone I'd met on another set, who I it was a younger filmmaker. I thought he was really talented, Connor Hurley. He is very talented. He's done very well now, but I spotted him out early. I'm like, I need your help. And he just was just super patient with me, because I was so green at it. um, and I think we made a really sweet little film. But yeah, that showed me I can do this, and I want to do more of this. Um, and yeah, and then from that, just going to more film festivals, making more connections. I ended up volunteering for the Garden State Film Festival in New Jersey, and eventually joining their board. and I'm on their programming committee, their actor nominations committee. So I'm really involved with that, and that's been rewarding on a whole other level.
Totally.
Um, as you know, as an independent filmmaker, I know how much it means to me when I can have my film showcased at a festival. So to be part of that platform for another filmmaker is just very rewarding for me.
Yeah.
I love to, showcase other filmmakers' work. Again, lift people up, give
Yeah.
them that chance.
It's
It's
amazing.
exciting.
It's
It's
it's super
really cool to
exciting,
be
and
a
it's
part of.
yeah, absolutely, and it's really why I wanted to have you on this podcast because I know that there's, including myself, a lot of people that are listening and are interested in making movies and then figuring out how to kind of go like, okay, you make a movie, you write a script, then you write a script, and then you have to figure out how to like finance the project and shoot the project. Then once the project's shot, then you have to figure out how to like do the post production. And then so like by the time you have actually like created a movie and like got it done, you have put so much effort into it. And then what's crazy is that unless you're some big connected studio head or something, there's nothing and nowhere to go. Like it's like roadblocks right up in your face. You're just like, okay, so now what? I've like,
Okay.
you know,
Yeah, it can be daunting for sure. And so I look, especially as a short film. Let's just start with short films, feature films as well. But I think every filmmaker should make a short film before they jump into a feature. And while most short films don't make money, they don't. You're not going to make your money back for the most part.
right.
Um, I really look at them as a really expensive business card,
Hmm.
right? And you want to hand out your business card in person to as many people as possible. And what I mean by that is you want to find the film festivals that are right for you, that the audience is really going to appreciate it. And hopefully festivals that have some press attached to them as well. Um, be there to present your film in person, be there for the Q&As, go to other filmmakers film blocks and participate in the festival in the whole, go to their like panel discussions. They can often have really informative panels, or distributors, or just there are so many benefits to presenting your film in person at a film festival. And then also you get the audience reaction too. You might realize after a screening, that joke didn't land like I wanted it to. I need to go back and tweak that part. And then you're
Yeah,
going to tweak it before you submit it to any other film festivals. Cause so it's
sure.
really good to get audience feedback, potential for press, to get your name out there and to make those connections. Again, going back to finding your people, finding your tribe. You're going to find other filmmakers that inspire you. It's not just about showing your film, it's about meeting those other filmmakers. And so many people, so the word like networking kind of has a negative connotation. But if you turn that around, less of a networking business, hey, how you doing?
Hmm.
You know, handshake kind of thing, but more of like a finding your people thing. Like, I'm inspired by your work, man. That was awesome.
Yeah,
And, what was your inspiration? Like having those conversations and like talking to the people that inspire you, and maybe you're inspiring somebody else. Like, that's the kind of stuff that like, energizes you and leads to other projects. Whether it's just down the road, you just grab that composer from that other film, or the producer from that other film, or that actor, or whoever. Like, you find your people, and sometimes they're going to find you too. But there's so much value in making a short film, specifically in just getting yourself out there as an artist, as a filmmaker, as an actor, whatever hat you're wearing.
yeah,
um, and yeah, finding your people. But the features as well, you got to make the short film first. Like, people that jump right into a feature, features are harder to program at festivals. You're gonna have a harder time getting in, so it's got to be that much better. They just take up more of the film block. So if it's a hour and a half, hour and 45 minute feature, that could be
right,
10 short films.
right.
um, so that's more filmmakers that could come and fill those seats. So the feature film just has to be that much better to do well at film festivals.
It's a little daunting because it reminds me, and it's also inspiring and kind of just a good reminder because when I first started acting, it was like, for me, I just needed to know exactly. I couldn't take no for an answer. So I was banging down the door of NYU. I was at SVA. I was at Columbia. I was like at all their film schools, just like, hey, I'm an actor. Like, I'm just trying to let you know that I exist in the world. Use me, don't use me, whatever. Like, take my number. I'm just here. I just want to let you know that I exist. And
Great.
ultimately, like this kind of like just pounding the pavement approach paid off, right? Like,
Yeah.
but when you get beyond that, especially like as an actor, I guess for me, like your ego gets attached. So when I think about like, oh, now I'm gonna just like as a filmmaker kind of start that approach all over again. I'm going to start going to film festivals and just like, hey guys, like I'm a filmmaker, I'm Julian, I just want to let you know that I'm, and it's like, yeah, dude, that's what you have to like. Do you want to do
Yeah.
this or do you not want to do this? Because this is the
Yeah.
work,
What, are you just going to show it to your mom and let that be that? Like, you
right?
got to get out there.
For sure. For sure. And it's just one of those things that's just like it's not as hard as we make it. It just takes time and effort and like you mm, prioritizing these things that you haven't been prioritizing. Like I don't go to
Yeah.
film festivals with unless a film is in it that I am a part of.
Yeah.
I never do that. Why would I do that? Right. But it's just like, well, here's why. I watched your webinar and it's just like there's so much to do. There's so much to be done. There's like, and
Yeah.
it's never ending amount of work that you could be, and it doesn't have to be like work and like you said, networking, like, hey, how you doing? It's just like, it can be
Yeah. Yeah.
fun and it should be.
Yeah.
I do find that a lot of these like festivals though, I mean, I think you said on your webinar, there's like 13,000 festivals now.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
insane.
That's just on Film Freeway alone. But yes, it's
Crazy.
overwhelming.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And so like,
New ones popping up every day.
yeah. So like, I remember finishing our movie and thinking like, well, I only want to submit to like the good ones, because
Yeah.
like which is just another e- arrogant thought because just get eyes on this thing, meet people
Yeah.
however you can. However, it's just like, okay, well with 13,000 places, like how do I even attempt to start to like dial into like the certain one that I'm looking for. And
Yeah.
as a first time filmmaker, I think I have, wound up spending, which I'm definitely like strongly considering paying and joining your film festival insider like after this conversation because I really think
Okay.
that's like some invaluable information that like you're giving to the world, to the people that are a part of it. I just know it, and
Thank you.
it's you have done the work already. I just like
Yeah. I'm
I
trying to give you a cheat sheet so you cannot. I spent tens of thousands of dollars
oh,
over the years. Um, a lot of that was mistakes, money flushed down the toilet. But I kind of figured out the formula, so to speak. Look, there's no one size fits all
right,
for any film, but there are ways you can save money, really strategize your submissions, and like you said, you want to submit to the best ones. Look, as far as like the best film festivals, there are a lot of great film festivals out there. I mean, there are the top, like the big five, the
mm,
Cannes, Toronto, Berlin, Sundance,
Venice,
and Venice. So they call those kind of lottery ticket festivals. You could submit. It does, why not? It's fun.
right,
Everybody buys a lottery ticket once in a while. Um, but it's their amount of submissions are so high. The level of talent is so good, and then they're taking alumni films. They're taking CAA agency walked in films. It's to just be plucked from obscurity. That's why they call it the lottery. It can happen, but just don't hedge your bets or sit on your film for a year waiting to get into Cannes.
yeah,
Um, but there are so many other great film festivals out there. A ton of Oscar qualifying festivals that are lesser known, like not as well known, but they're huge. Just New York alone, Woodstock is a really good one.
hmm
Obviously, everybody knows about Tribeca, but
right,
Woodstock is a newly Oscar qualifying is in the
nice,
last few years, and that's a super cute town to spend some time in. Think about towns you want to spend time in too. Like, where can I realistically get to? Because the festival expenses, they add up.
right,
So, like I said, you want to present your card in person. So kind of think about, do I have a friend's couch I can stay on?
Mhm.
Can I just drive up and back in the same day? Is someone in my crew? Do they have family in certain towns? Where are they from? What towns are near, or what festivals are near that town? And just kind of think about it. But there are ways to strategize. I do actually have a tracker that I created. It's like this sortable tracker, and it kind of helps you once you plug in all of your ideal festivals. You got to do the research up front. It does take some time, but it's worth it. And you want to know where you're submitting. Just like I said, when I'm an actor, I'm auditioning the
Right.
producers as much as they're auditioning me. I look into the work they do. Look into those festivals. Like if you're on Film Freeway and all you see is a step and repeat, but uh, you don't see like any other room, or you don't see like any kind of panel discussions, or what the venue looks like, or do they have like gatherings that aren't just the screenings. Some of them are just screenings, and that's fine. Like for a local festival, if you just want your friends and family to come out, maybe that's all you want, and that's
Mhm.
fine. But if you really want exposure, you got to kind of really research these festivals, and figure out which ones are the right fit for your film. Also, as far as submitting, I would submit early rather than late. I would almost never submit to a late deadline unless you know the programmers,
Mhm.
um, and you're like, hey, it's coming in. You can, if you really want to get in that year and you know that next year you're not going to get a chance to do it again. But it costs more.
Yeah.
So why not wait?
Do you
It
see
costs a
that? Do
lot
you
more.
do
Those costs really add up.
Right. Do you see that after having got into certain ones, you talk about like alumni and stuff, has it become a lot easier now? Not just because of the knowledge you have, but just because of having been a part of other things and kind of knowing how to strategize your way through this stuff? Does it feel a little easier? Or does it become even more challenging because of the level up process
Well,
that's
yeah, so I
happening?
was just gonna say that. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's probably easier. I don't take for granted that because I'm alumni, I'm gonna get into a festival.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, it does become easier because generally festivals love to welcome back their alumni.
Right.
So in that sense, it does, and you have relationships built there, but it's not a guaranteed in. And like you said, leveling up. So with this next film that I'm working on, we're actually just now starting pre-production, and I have to be a little tight-lipped about it, but
No
it's super
worries.
exciting, and I am going to be seriously leveling up um, with the festival submissions.
Amazing.
And I did well last time. I did several Oscar qualifying festivals. Fantasia was a huge one. Got some great press. So like I've had some great film festival experiences. But yeah, and I will, a lot of those I will also submit to, if this film is appropriate. Some of the festivals might not be appropriate for this film, but again, that's it's you got to also look at the audience they're trying to attract. This one is like in the horror genre, so one of the festivals that I love so much, it's a little more conservative of an audience. They have a
Mm.
lot of, it's kind of a smaller town. It's a big festival, very respected, but it's a smaller town, and their audience is a little bit older. And so I'm like, I don't know that they'd actually appreciate that film. I might not submit there, even though I love that festival. So you kind of get to know the vibe of the festivals you've attended in the past also, and it helps you just gauge better as to if you'd actually be a good fit there or not this year.
Yeah, I mean, you've done so many. Like, you just your one. I was reading your one film, Victim Number Six, had 21 festivals, 19 awards. Like 21 festivals alone.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Did you go to all of these festivals as well and like
I
show
went to most of
face
them.
and
I'd
do?
say I probably Yeah, I'd say, and my producing partner and the writer director of that, Nancy Mena, I'd say we had a presence at probably 19 of those festivals. There are a couple that neither of us could make, but one or both of us attended all the festivals. I attended most of them myself for sure. But there are a couple that Nancy did without me that I couldn't attend, and vice versa.
But
So yeah,
what other way is there to get there than by just like paying out of pocket and like just putting yourself up and
there
figuring
are
out your way up?
grants.
Oh,
There are travel grants specifically for filmmakers.
no way.
So just Google filmmaker festival travel grants and see what pops up.
Wow.
Um, Different. Sometimes it's government run grants. Sometimes it's certain like filmmaker group grants. But yeah, Google it, look into it. Couch surfing is always a good thing. Some festivals offer housing. I would recommend actually European festivals are great for that. They tend to have more government funding and can oftentimes help with or even completely cover your stay. Maybe not
Wow.
your airfare, but your hotel.
So there really is
Um,
like ways to make this happen that don't
yeah.
like the assumption is just like, oh, well, it's going to cost me so much money and then I'm going to have to go from this place. But it's like there's an
And
answer
it
for all of
will.
this stuff.
It will cost you so much money,
Sure.
but you can cut that down significantly. Um, so definitely budget for it, but there are creative ways. Once accepted to film festivals, a lot of festivals have specific filmmaker Facebook groups. Um, so that's a way you can hop on and interact with your fellow filmmakers who are going to be attending that year. Maybe you guys can carpool. Maybe there are a bunch of people heading from New York, over to Pennsylvania, and you'd be like, "Hey, I got a car. Anybody want to ride? We could share gas, whatever."
Right.
Maybe people want to go in on an Airbnb.
Yeah.
There are ways. There are ways to get creative, but make it happen. I find just figure out how to get to yes. Figure out how to make it happen. There are ways. Just got to get a little creative. Think outside the box.
I think a lot of times it's a lot harder to uh like conceptualize and to like the idea of doing it is a lot harder than like actually executing it, right? Like just thinking
Yes.
about
Yeah, we get in
how
our
am
own heads,
yeah,
right?
yeah. How am I going to get there? What am I going to do? Who am I supposed to call? Who am I? It's just like, I don't know, just spend a whole day just online, like looking at your
Yeah.
screen and figuring it out. Like, just like Google stuff. I remember like telling young actors when I first started acting, or like even like it's years into my acting process, they were like, hey man, I've seen that you've done work. Like, what do you do? I was like, literally just Google it and go from there. Like, I
Yeah.
don't know what else to tell
Yeah.
you. Just like start.
What did we do before Google? I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Who knows? But it is so true, and it's just I'm so happy I'm talking to you because it's such a great reminder that I have like lived by for so long, but in a different context. I haven't really like applied it to my filmmaking life quite yet because
Yeah.
it's still so new to me. So I'm just like, what's like I think because I have 15 years of acting experience that I can like leverage that. But it's like, no, just don't even try. I mean, sure, if it works, it can work great. If you have people in your circle that can like help because of your acting, great. But ultimately, like it's its own entity, and you're gonna have to kind of like start fresh and like build this thing the same way that you built that thing. And I shouldn't I shouldn't expect that there's going to be like any fast track or like expedited like elevator system to like get me to success in this regard. I just have to do the work. It's just the same thing that
Do the work.
you always have to do
Yeah.
that. That's just the
Yeah.
case for everybody.
Yeah. Just keep going. One foot in front of the other. And honestly, like you say, there's no fast track, but really, life goes by in the blink of an eye. Two
Yeah,
years from now may not be a fast track,
right.
but 2 years from now, you could be in a vastly different place than you are right now.
For sure.
So much changes. So right now, 2 years feels like, oh my God, that's 2 years away. But really, we know how fast it goes.
Yeah.
So just do the work because it's passing us by whether we do it or not.
Right. It's better to like be 2 years farther along in the journey of figuring this out than to be like 2 years later being like, oh, I didn't start, so I'm
Yeah.
nowhere. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a really great reminder. I am curious though, like, because you have in your courses, uh, like a guide to essentially like work smarter, not harder. But
Yeah.
do you think that you still like ultimately you still have to trial and error your way through this despite having steps
Yeah.
and like guidebooks and tools, like you're still going to have to like fall on your face many times. It's kind of a rite of passage, right?
Well, look, yes, and just to brace yourself for this, because we're used as actors, we are used to rejection. Yes,
Hmm.
we are. We are,
Right.
strong. We
Yeah.
got this. We're used to rejection. Yay. Um, Filmmaker acceptance ratios, typical filmmaker acceptance ratios are between 5 and 10%. That's an average filmmaker accept. That could mean you're submitting to 95 festivals before you get into five.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, that's hard, but it's also normal. You could increase that ratio by really being smart about which festivals you submit to and strategic about how you submit, as far as the timing of it, your premiere strategies, making sure you read all the rules. um, so it's read all the rules. I don't read the rules. Sorry. So many filmmakers don't read the rules, and then they
Right.
get upset when we're like, this your film can't play here because it's already played in the town next door, and we clearly say you can't do that, or whatever the rule is. If there a lot of filmic festivals will have like length requirements. This is mostly specific to short films, but some of them say it can be 40 minutes. Some of them don't have a length requirement, but they always prefer it shorter.
Hmm.
Some of them have it as short as 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Cut off, hard cut off. Your
Right.
film cannot be longer than 15 minutes or you can't submit. So right there, my film, Victim Number Six, was 21 minutes. I know that that's long for a short film. I also know there really wasn't much that we could have edited out to
Right.
really make a difference. So I chose to, I'm like, all right, I know I'm not going to get into as many festivals with my 21-minute film as I would if it were 15 minutes or 10 minutes. But this is the artist in me says this is the film I'm choosing to make, and I'm just going to take my chances and maybe not get into as many festivals. But I know if I got into a festival, they really liked it, because they got to really like a longer short to program it over two shorter shorts. So you make your choices.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I I'm super eager to explore the film festival world with my film. I'm eager to jump into your courses as well, and to learn more things about them. It is just it just feels so overwhelming in the beginning, because ultimately, like for me, my film is a proof of concept for a feature. And essentially, like, the goal
Yeah.
from the get-go was like, okay, I want like I want to manage my expectations, but I also want to be making money from the things that I'm doing, from the work
Yeah.
that I'm putting in. I don't just want to be spending money my whole entire life and like just like not recouping it. I don't just want to be like putting great art out into the world and then like being like, great, like the world gets to see my art. Like, that's a very noble thing to do, but it's also like I'm trying to, make a living doing this. And when acting isn't like
Yeah.
fully paying the bills for me, it's like, okay, like what can I do that isn't just like some secondary side job that I can like put my effort towards this, to like put myself on a track to be making money. Maybe
Hmm.
not right away, but if my plan was to make a feature film from this proof of concept and to like turn a profit on it, or to at least make the
Yeah.
money back that I can pay myself back with, rather than going into
Hmm.
debt. Like, it seems almost like impossible. It's just like when you're an
Yeah.
independent filmmaker, how do you like transition from just spending money to actually making money?
Yeah. Well, I'd say a lot of it is the relationships. So that's great. You've made this as a proof of concept. Again, going to the festivals in person is going to be key for you. And it's the relationships you're going to make that are going to lead to your next projects. Honestly, the feature film that will come from this project, setting that aside for a moment, this could just very easily lead to a lot more acting gigs for you. Your work in it is fantastic. And
Oh,
again,
thank you.
you're getting yourself out there to just a different audience, different audiences, plural. So, and you just never know. Like
Right.
me in that acting class, 10 years, I'm like, that kid, he's going places. And
Yeah.
PS, you still are. You are. You're not there yet. You're good. But
Yeah.
I'm not wrong.
No, I no, and I appreciate that, the sentiment. It's just it's like it becomes so like such a convoluted thing trying to figure out like where can I be best putting my energy. I spent the better part of my like earlier years of getting into acting just like distributing my energy like bah, like just explosively, just like wherever it can go, anywhere, everywhere, all at once. And now it's just like, okay, think about where you want to place it. Think about who you want to be giving it to. Think about like what you like. Be
Yes.
more intentional about this stuff. And it's almost just like, okay, in theory, that sounds like a much smarter approach, but it becomes even harder because I'm just like, I sometimes I'm just like, why can't I just go back to being like this crazy boy who's just like, I'm all over the place. I don't know anything, but I'm like, things are happening and whatever. It's like now I feel like this, it's almost like this pressure to be smarter about my decisions. But in that, I get a little bit afraid that I'm going to misstep and I'm going to make a wrong decision. And then that's going to be something that's going to like, you know, I don't want to make mistakes. I get become more precious about it, I suppose.
No, make them. Make the mistakes.
I
It's
know,
how
but
we
I
learn.
just but
If we hold back for fear of the mistakes we may make, that is what paralyzes us.
right,
We got to just
but
plow through.
when the mistakes are like, you know, cost money and you're like and you're trying to like figure out how to navigate
Yeah.
your business and it's just like okay, you know, like you feel like Clark Griswold in Vegas Vacation. You're just like throwing the money like back at the table and back at the table, and then you're like, oh my god,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
out. Um,
We want to be a
and
little deliberate, especially where the money's concerned.
For
Yes,
sure. And
absolutely.
this like really requires that, you know, like
Yeah.
this process is not one that can just be like you can't be frivolous. You can't just be like I'll just do whatever. Like unless you have
Yeah.
unlimited resources, you have to be like really intentional about like how you're spending your money. And I guess, you know, just to like continue to bring home your your courses on like with the Film Festival Insider, it's just like that's what you break down, that's what you kind of like get into and like explore with yourself, and you have been exploring over this whole entire experience that you've been doing this. um
Yes.
but I mean uh, it's not gonna I'm never gonna stop doing what I'm doing, but with every next step I take, I really want to be able to just like start reaching out to different places. But I do that. I've done that so often. I've hit up different places and then they don't get back to me, or they do get back to me. They tell me no.
Places like what kind of
People,
places?
places, festivals,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
investors, like
Hmm.
everything, all across the board, right? Agents,
Yeah.
managers, film festivals, like all of these things
Hmm.
where somebody might take some kind of interest in the creative thing that I've done. And it
Yeah.
hurts even more like more so than like a film reel of all your acting work when you make a movie and you've like spent all this time working on it and then you try to put it out into the world and you're like, oh my god, you feel so strongly about that thing that you spent so much time with, and then you put it back out into the world to these people to try and to like, you know, get something back from it, and the answer is no. It's just like it's a different kind of rejection where you're just like, "Ah, maybe I just need to start over. Maybe I just need to like swipe the slate clean and like do a whole new project. Maybe I just need to like change course. I don't know." And I guess that's just
All
where
right.
I have been for the last, you know, several months. Just like, do I need to keep like really hitting this project over the head because it doesn't seem like it's having that much success, but I'm also not really, after watching your thing, like being as intentional as I could be with it. So like,
Right.
what do I really need to do here to move forward in a way that doesn't just say start over, like wipe the slate clean, make a bunch of money again so you can make another movie that's completely different, and then just let this one sit on the shelf for the rest of your life. I'm proud of this thing and I want it to go
And you should be.
places.
And you should be. So honestly, listen, Julian, you said you've been doing this for the last several months as far as putting it out there. And look, rejection is hard.
Yeah.
Um, it might not be at a point right now where it or you are ready to be received by these people you're approaching. I feel a lot of times it has to do with timing.
Mm.
The project that I'm going to pre-production on has been in the works, being shopped around for over 2 years.
Wow.
So, and it just hit. And I'm
Mm,
like, whoo, we're going into production. My
nice.
God, it's really happening.
It's
Because
amazing.
it's just something that I feel like I've been talking about for a while. It's been in my head. I've been shopping. I've been going to festivals. I've been doing, putting the work in, meeting the people. People seemed interested, but no one had come through just yet. So it's a matter. Then you're like, well, is this really happening? Are these people really for real? Is it, should I move on to another project? And yes, actually, I don't think it has to be an either or. You're an endless source of creativity. So just because this hasn't happened yet doesn't mean it won't happen, or that you can't move on to also another project. They're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
I think if you're really passionate about something, yes, put your energy into it. But at the same time, it doesn't have to be an end all be all. And just because it doesn't
Right.
happen right in the moment where you feel like it's supposed to happen doesn't mean it won't happen. It could take years, it could take a decade sometimes for like some of the best projects. Even like big Hollywood people
You're right.
have a hard time
Yeah,
getting their films made.
for sure.
So it's, keep following your passion. If you're passionate about something, you're onto it. Like that's a good indicator that you're going in the right direction. But keep following your joy. If another project sparks your joy, maybe work on that for a while. But definitely do the festivals, make more connections in the indie film world. um, you just never know who you're going to meet and who you're going to inspire when you really put yourself out there and your work out there.
Yeah, amen. It's the truth for sure. How do you stay in it? How do you keep yourself moving through it when you're rejected, when like the universe is kind of saying like just give up? Like what do you do
Yeah,
to keep yourself grounded and motivated?
I don't know, I kind of feel like this whole life is a game.
And a
um
sim.
yeah, kind of,
Yeah.
kind of.
Yeah.
It I gotta say, my mom, God rest her soul, we lost her
Mm,
in 2019. My mother always, from a very young age, instilled in me self confidence. She instilled in me, like, believe in yourself. You're great. You're the best. And not in a way where she raised me to grow up to be cocky or better than anyone, but just like, I am worthy kind of thing. And it's interesting because as an adult, I actually came to realize that my mother had a lot of insecurities that I didn't see as a child.
hmm.
And I think she was more just like speaking out loud and projecting what she
Yeah.
wished she had within her. But in doing that, I was a very obedient little girl and I believed her.
Mm,
So God bless my mother, her insecurities and all, but what she gifted me with was like genuine optimism.
hmm.
I I'm when I get knocked down, and look, things don't work out all the time. My life is not rosy all the time. It's, we all have our life stuff we have to go through, but it's part of the game. And I feel stronger. I feel when I get through that obstacle and I'm like, okay, that was freaking hard, but I did it, and I'm through it and I'm stronger for it. Okay, what's next? I kind of like, you get knocked down, you just keep going, just keep
Yeah.
going. You're getting stronger.
Yeah.
And you have this passion and this drive for a reason. Keep following it.
Yeah, it's really admirable. It's really cool, and I remember the energy of that when I was in that casting workshop with you. I remember kind of feeling that way about you and being like, "Wow, this woman like doesn't get knocked down or does, but just like has like a rubber band
Just
soul,
wipe your
like
hands
just
off on your pants and keep going.
yeah." Yeah, and I don't know, like I don't know. I guess just with time, you just kind of get like how much more time and look, I started this podcast as kind of like a way to talk to people about like how because these businesses that we are in through acting and filmmaking and creating, art in this medium is so weird and so rewarding. But
Yes
even
and yes.
yeah, and at the highest levels, it's like you're always faced with this sense of like inadequacy and trying to battle with like, should I be doing this still or should I go get that job at Microsoft? Should I like stop and like be real with myself, or should I just like be the person that I want to be and keep going? Of course, I want to, of course, but it's like that's the precipice of delusion that I talk about on here on this podcast,
Yeah.
which is just like, am I delusional or am I like on the right path? I don't know. Can somebody give me a sign? And, it's just like you got to find that yourself, and you just got to keep reminding yourself and
Yeah.
keep getting up and keep going after it. And I think that, you are such a great role model in that regard for people who are, struggling. And do you like mentor people at all? Do you have like people that you're like
I
in a
do.
mentorship
I do
program?
one-on-one consults. Yeah, I do
Yeah,
Zoom consults.
that's
Yeah.
awesome. I bet you're great at
Yeah.
that. I feel like you just have like such
Thanks.
a wonderful energy that is, is contagious, and it's it has inspired me to remember kind of what I was doing this for. And it's really
Yeah.
like this whole podcast is all like my own selfish attempt to just like reconnect with peers and friends and artists, and just be like, can you just give me a quick reminder to like keep it going myself, because it helps.
Yes.
And it through their, struggles, through their shortcomings and their obstacles, it's such a beautiful thing. And I don't know, hearing you talk about just like putting the work in, like that's just all this is. It's just
Hmm.
putting the work in. Like there's no other way. You just have to
Yeah.
figure it out. And I used to say it to
Well, and
people
follow
too.
your joy.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
exactly.
listen to your inner self. Like, when something is clicking for you and it feels right. And just because it's not working out the way you want it to in that moment doesn't mean that it won't.
Yeah.
Just keep doing what feels right. If you're really earnest in your pursuits, it's going to pay off. It may not pay off in the way you envision. It may be a completely different way, but it will. And you say, like, you're not sure if you should throw in the towel and give up and get the real. Like, I did that
Mm,
at 24. I got my quote unquote real job, and I
mhm.
did that for whatever 10 years before I finally was like, I got to go back to it. But
Yeah.
I tried, and it wasn't for me. Like, my creative heart called me back, and I'm so glad it did. But I also don't regret the time that I spent doing the quote unquote real job, because it enriched my life in other ways. It did help me with my project management skills, and as far as producing, it just, I don't know. I guess it gave me a different confidence and a different perspective when I'm taking on these projects. So I also don't regret it. I feel like there's no set path or straight line we need to walk. At the time, taking that job and getting, kind of more sure footing. It wasn't just about the 401k or health benefits, but just grounding myself more. I think, like I said, in my 20s, I wasn't ready for this. I was really flighty and aimless. And then over the next decade or so, and being a mom and kind of quote unquote settling down, so to speak, I felt more grounded and really remembered who I was at my core. And that's when I had to go back to it. And it was the right, but I don't regret doing that either. There is no linear way to get where we're meant to be. I think you just follow your inner voice, find moments of stillness where you can sit with yourself, whether you're meditating or just breathing or just looking at the scenery outside and watching the people walk by, whatever it is. But just like find those quiet moments and let your mind drift, get your face out of your phone, and like be with yourself,
Hmm.
and kind of just really feel where you are meant to be next.
Yeah. Do you feel like you're where you're supposed to be right now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
awesome.
do.
That's so
Yeah, I have
cool.
to say, more so than any other time in my life. I absolutely do. And it's
Uh,
such a gift. It is.
yeah,
And I wish this for everybody.
yeah.
But a lot of that is due to really listening to my inner voice. And there are always things, like, life is hard and it throws stuff at you. And you have these nagging voices telling you should do this or you should do that. But really, when you quiet yourself down, and then you have the people on the outside also telling you what you should do, like real
Hmm.
people, like
Right.
giving you advice. But you really have to just, sit with yourself and figure out, is this what I'm meant to do? And okay, well, if it is, then what are we doing next?
You're a badass, Heather. I admire you lots. We can wrap this up, but I
Aw.
want you to tell people where they can check out your courses on like the film festival insider and what they can
Yeah,
do to like access you.
filmfestivalinsider.com. Yeah, yeah, come on board, filmfestivalinsider.com. I do have a free webinar, um, which I invite you to watch. Again, it's free. It's like a 40-minute webinar. It kind of gives an overview as to, the benefits of film festivals, why a lot of filmmakers struggle with film festivals, and what you can do about it. I also have a filmmaker Facebook group, Film Festival Insider Facebook private group, and it's a nice growing community. There's some good engagement on there. I do pop on and offer tips from time to time. I also engage and answer questions. So that's a nice place. It's the filmmakers that have joined so far. I feel like they're really kind of ready to level up in their film festival uh, submissions and
Yeah,
just their own film journeys.
yeah.
So it's nice to be surrounded by a positive group of people online that
It's cool.
engage in a positive way.
Yeah, it's cool that uh, your pursuit in creativity and in service to others are like connected as one right now, seemingly. That's like that
Thank
must
you.
be a
Yeah,
very
it feels
rewarding thing.
good.
Yeah.
It is. I what I created, I actually had it in my brain for a couple of years to write this course and record it and put it out there. It just, again, it takes you a while to get things done sometimes. Life gets in the way, but it's really just like I said with the Garden State Film Festival, I love having that platform to help my fellow filmmakers and to give them that venue to showcase their films. Um, and Film Festival Insider is basically, I created it. It's what I looked for when I was starting out submitting my own films to festivals. And I just wish existed back then because I had a lot of questions and I just couldn't get any real, like, meaty answers. It was all surface stuff.
Yeah.
So we really get into it in my course. And I just, yeah, I do. I feel really good helping my fellow filmmakers. And it's exciting for me to be a part of their journey and a part of their success. So
Yeah, that's the best. Do you do one-on-ones inside there?
not within there, but I do them.
Okay,
Just it's a separate thing if people
cool.
want a one-on-one. You can get one or get both
Okay,
or the other or yeah.
cool. Well, this was my way to connect with you now, but now I'm gonna
Yeah, you
have
got
to.
your one-on-one.
Yeah, I got my one-on-one, but I'm gonna you'll see me in there shortly. So look out for
Cool.
me. I'll make sure that everybody has like all of the links and all the other things attached to the show notes here and stuff. But man, thank you so much for being here and sharing all of your insight. It's so cool, and I really do admire you. I it's so interesting to see all these years later, kind of like, oh yeah, that's who that is. I totally like it's not even about like who you look like or what you are. It's like the energy and even transmitted through like computer screens. It's just like I remember now. it's so
Oh, that's
it's
so
so kind of
funny.
charming and cool. And yeah, I really admire you and I think you're just doing really cool work. And so thank you for sharing yourself with me in this podcast. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Julian. Thanks for having me on. I was honored to be asked, and you're doing great with this podcast. You have quite a following you're building yourself. So,
Yeah.
congratulations on that. And I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much. That's our show. Thank you so much for tuning in and being with us. Man, I'm happy to be back. It's really great. And I really love that conversation with Heather. She's such a inspiring person to listen to. And I think she's been plugging away at this business for long enough to where she really knows what she's talking about. And she really has some great insight and certainly made me think again about how I'm approaching all of this as far as my filmmaking pursuits. So hopefully it inspired you. If you want to check out Heather's work, if you want to go take a class or a workshop with her, check the show notes here. You can go down and meet with her and follow her on social media, you can see all the things she's up to. And I really implore you to do that, because if you're in this world, we need help, guys. We need help. Anyways, guys, stick around for a second here. If you haven't already subscribed to my YouTube channel, we are really struggling there, guys. We need to get some more subscriptions there. We need to get some more people tuning in, more eyes on that page. I'm not the best at putting this stuff up. I'm going to start trying to create a better channel there for you guys. But if you can go to the YouTube page and subscribe to it, make sure you like these posts that are coming out. Follow us on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on, whether it's Apple Music or Spotify or wherever else they come. I don't even know where they go. But it really helps, guys. It really helps my algorithm and getting more eyes on this stuff. If you like it, if you share it, if you comment on it, it goes a long way, and it helps me build this thing out so that I can continue doing it without having to break my back every single week. Yeah, I would really appreciate all of the love you can give me there if you can. So make sure you're following us at the Precipice of Delusion on Instagram. And yeah, follow us along for the ride. I'm posting content every week now again, and really excited to have you with us. If you also are interested in contributing to this podcast and being a part of my little small community that I'm growing every single week, check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/the Precipice of Delusion. I got a bunch of stuff up there from movies that I've produced. I Am Erica included, the movie that I produced this last year, to movies that Alan Stone and I produced during the pandemic, Christmas special, 'Tis the Season, Baby, get on that right now. We got a Valentine's Day special up there as well. We got scripts, we have puppet shows, we have audition takes, we have vlogs, we have personal, not personal, but private pub. What am I trying to say? We have uh, uh, podcast episodes that are unreleased to the public and are just there for you to hear. A bunch of fun stuff, guys. So if you want to go and support this podcast, check out patreon.com/the Precipice of Delusion. It's also in the show notes right here. Click that link, follow along. It costs $5 to subscribe. Every single dollar that comes my way helps so much, guys. I promise you, I'm trying to reinvest it back into this program and yeah, bring on new cool guests and fun people to talk to and bring you something that brings you joy. So once again, thank you for being here. 'Tis the season to be jolly, so go eat some Christmas cookies, some holiday cheer, spread the love, pay it forward, do nice things, be kind to each other. I love you very much. We'll see you next week, ladies and gentlemen. Mwah. Now that's what I'm talking about.